Do, do. Well, hello everybody. Just pour myself a drink. Here we are again. Oh, here we go. Hey, Anzen. Good evening. Happy you're able to join us again. Although it just might be me and you, so you might have just made us as opposed to singular. Yeah. So as promised, I held off working on this page this week. In fact, just killing a few minutes before going live, I just did some black outlining here. Getting that done. I'm gonna finish this page no matter what. But I'm gonna see how much of this I can finish like in about an hour, which seems to be my usual runtime. It seems to be the best before people get so tired of me and they go, "I've had enough," and then wander off and watch other people's videos, I guess, or TikTok or something, stuff like that. You know. Trying to get that whole idea of a splash in this panel. As he like slams his big meaty fist down to grasp into the earth. When I was a kid, drawing water splashing around was like a nightmare. That and fire, I just couldn't loosen up and do what needed to be done to make that stuff work in my drawings. There has to be a fluidity to drawing that stuff that I just did not have as a young artist. Yeah, it was literally one of my art teachers, grade 10, who just looking at a comic says, "Well, it looks like they do this," and she drew these kind of squiggly lines, then drew these counter lines that kind of like cut off parts of it and then erased it. And I was like, and she was pretty damn close for someone who really wasn't a comic fan. I mean, she was an art teacher, but she wasn't definitely nowhere near a comics fan. And that helped a lot, just realizing that sometimes not everything's drawn with a fist. And so that's what helped me there. And then there's different types of flame. Like there's flame you draw from observation, and there's essentially comic book fire, which does not really exist beyond like the most facile representation of fire and drawing. I mean, fire itself does not like roar up or anything until it's monstrous. And my understanding of it was that fires all had to be monstrous, and most fires are actually almost like they always seem to be on the verge of like guttering out. And more white paint going to go on top of that panel. And these tiny little panels are going to go super fast. And honestly, before I forget, I was actually realizing next Sunday, it's already next Sunday is Christmas Eve. And I have no idea who would want to watch anyone streaming on Christmas Eve. I might do it just because I didn't really make any other plans. And I kind of like the idea of just having the streak going, even if not a lot of people are watching. But I'd probably do something for Witch House or something else non-Conan related just to give a break. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I think, hang on. Yeah, the 31st, New Year's Eve, is also a Sunday night. Now, I think I got plans. That's a sad thing. It's like New Year's Eve, you kind of go, I think I got plans. But if they fall through, or I decide I don't want to go out, I could theoretically stream New Year's Eve, have a New Year's Eve stream. What I could do is I could start working on a page after dinner, and just stream me working on a page quietly until midnight, and then Happy New Year's. I'd probably want to do like a late dinner then, so I'm not like streaming for like 7 hours or something. But I think that would be kind of cool, an actual late night New Year's Eve stream. So while I'm on the fence about Christmas Eve, if I don't have plans, New Year's Eve, I'm probably, now that I'm talking about it, I will probably very likely stream, because that sounds kind of fun and awesome. One of the things that Toronto used to do all the time, and it's on my head now because I just had to buy a new copy because I misplaced my director's cut edition, the one that came with that case that had the Voight-Kampff case. I lost my the Blade Runner director's cut, final cut edition, and so I just bought myself a new copy of Blade Runner. And for the longest time, City TV in Toronto, whenever they finished off their New Year's Eve festivities, usually with Ronnie Hawkins and some other live bands all playing around, they would dive into Blade Runner. And I kind of loved it. It just began, and it's like there's so many times I fell asleep watching Blade Runner because I'm old. And I just loved it. So it was like misplacing my my director's cut of Blade Runner was kind of a tragedy for the last couple of years, especially with COVID and everything. So it's hey, hi Jim. They are and widespread. People watch. They do. Yeah, drink and draw New Year's. I would definitely be drinking. There we go. All right, so we have a maybe Christmas Eve one, and I'll probably draw something seasonal appropriate or something wholly inappropriate, but of the season. And New Year's Eve drink and draw. I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's a thing now. But I only knew better the technology. I could actually drag a friend or two in for just two comic artists just getting completely blotto on New Year's Eve. I think that would be kind of fun. Need a heavier line on top of these rocks in the foreground. Just pretty much on the fall away sides because there's going to be white paint and stuff happening on the surface here to apply that all that lovely splatter. All right, so what's my drink? Well, it depends on whether or not I'm trying to get drunk or just trying to have a buzz. I mean, I think everyone has a preferred end of the day libation where you just drink something and so you can calm down. I like a whiskey and Diet Coke, mainly because whiskey tastes great with cola. I like straight whiskey too, so don't get me wrong. I am enough of a whiskey snob to enjoy straight up whiskey. But say a cheaper brand of whiskey with Diet Coke is a nice even keel. It's got enough of a bitterness to it that you're not going to like just slosh it down. And the cola and the ice will keep it from hitting you too hard. And a lot of times the mix in a mixed drink, the sugar is part of what really does you in and gets you hammered. But I mean, if I'm being elaborate, like during COVID, me and some friends had a Big Lebowski virtual night, and all we drank was White Russian. So there was a lot of Kahlua. I love Kahlua. I've always loved Kahlua. It's a kid's drink, really. And, well, as far as drinks can be for kids, you know what I mean. It's like rum and Coke. Rum and Coke is just like a gimme drink. Everyone can drink rum and Coke. And the sweetness in it helps the alcohol hit you a little bit harder. So yeah, I like my White Russians. I like Dark and Stormies. Despite Anthony Bourdain being like one of my favorite personalities, Negronis just don't do it for me. I get why he likes them. I've had them, I've enjoyed them, but they're not like I never have a go-to where it's like, ooh, you know what would be good? A Negroni. There we go. There's my Conan crawling through the rain. So here we go. Scotch and ice is good. Gin and tonic, fine sake is my range. Very nice. Yeah. You know what it is? It's the more you make these lines. This is in response to Jim's liberating week and confident enough just wildly throw hatch lines down. There's a weird thing that happens. The more you do it, the more you're in control while you're still moving at a high speed. Not to compare it to like something like really hard, like race driving. I want to jump up to a slightly heavier weight here. Here's my 3. But there's not a line I put down here that 20, 25 years ago I wouldn't have been putting down at like, you know, somewhere close to half speed. With this nib is nice. Look, if you can see this nib, you can see it's like just caked in semi-dried ink, and it's giving me a really dirty line, which is great for like the splatter stuff here at the bottom. So I'm gonna rotating, hoping the ink just kind of rolls off and then sits down here in the just dirties up the rainfall a bit, which is good considering how muddy Conan is. I should probably wipe that off. That's what paper towels are for. Not shirt sleeves. Although some of my black workout shirts, when I'm drawing in them, I'll have to clean an ink brush. I will literally just wipe it on there because it'll never show up. They're black workout shirts and they get really messy really fast. And they get washed way too often. Let me jump down to a 1 again. Do I want to use a marker for this? No, let's use the 1. So we got them crawling along. because that tree is that tree up here on that slight rise. And there's a big tree way over here, but we'd see the lip through here, and then we'd see probably see none of these trees. If I'm going to draw one. This is me not figuring out the environment properly enough. I think I still got to go back in here. I'm going to delineate from this panel up here. I think I have to go back in here and delineate the trees a little bit more with some white paint. That's what I'm going to do before I call this page done. Stretching his arm out just a little bit more. Get that suggestion of desperateness. While I'm drawing this, I'm trying to figure out how I want to render him reaching off into the darkness down here. I can actually go right to dark, which would make it sit on the same plane as my solid black areas, which I don't want. So I think I'm going to, I know down in here there's a hollow where Conan starts building some shelter. And there's also a lot of trees growing out of this. So I think I'm going to suggest some trees. There's also rain falling in the foreground between us and Conan, and then of course with the hollow in the background. So I think I'm going to try and do all this with just good old-fashioned drawing skills. And the idea that the end of the hollow is over here, so I can even there. I'll have some truly dark trees back there. So I'm doing everything with vertical rendering. The point for that being that since I have the vertical streaking from the rain coming down, everything coheres a little bit better. It doesn't discombobulate. Take a look over here. Here we go. Yeah, it's beat up tools give you the most distinct marks. So I haven't thrown out a quality brush, like one that costs more than $10 per brush, in about 20, 30 years, because even in a degraded, less than perfect state, a high quality made real hair brush will give you marks nothing else can give you, even as messed up as they are. So that's one thing I think is important distinction to learn as an artist as you go on. Because I still know people, it's like as soon as that brush can't make that perfect 005 line from a 0.7 brush. As soon as you can't get that, they throw them out. And I'm like, what? Don't do that. There's so much goodness left in there. Same thing. It's like I'll reuse. I accidentally bought the stupidest, cheapest set of brushes. They were in my cart, and I was looking. I go, these are going to be too cheap to be real brushes. And sure enough, they are pieces of crap brush. The bristles fall out like crazy. Yeah, see, did I pull some out? I did, and they fell right out of my fingers. And it's also like it's cut to a bullshit point. So there are a couple of bristles here at the very tippy end that would be fine, but it's not a real brush because it doesn't have a belly. It has like just cut. And even these, even though it's like I could have just tossed them, at some point I will need a brush that makes terrible marks like something like this brush makes. And I could even do things where it's like if I'm tired of it falling out, what I will do is I'll take a syringe of some diluted matte medium, and I'll inject it near the base so it gets a little gluey. It distorts the brush, of course, but I don't at that point I don't care. And then what I can do is when it's semi-rigid, like give it like 20 minutes or so, I'll push it around. It'll actually give me like a weird deformed shape. And then I have a bizarre sort of fan brush that only I have. So I hang on to garbage brushes too. That said, my watercolor brushes are only for watercolor. Um, I know what side my my bread is buttered on enough to not wreck brushes I want to use with watercolor being less than perfect. You really kind of need your watercolor brushes to be, able to be cleaned as much as you need them to be cleaned, so you can actually get that pure color and all the benefits of using a clean watercolor brush. But the stuff I do with gouache, although honestly I use a lot of my watercolor brushes with gouache, but watercolor, acrylic, I will use garbage brushes with acrylic because acrylic just um, destroys brushes. So I don't really take care of brushes I use with acrylics are lower in the totem pole. I never use my watercolor brushes with acrylics. Never use my watercolor brushes with ink. Like if I'm using a Winsor Newton or a Escoda high end brushes, either I use them just for ink, knowing that they're going to die soon anyway. Or if it's failed as a watercolor brush, if it's finally died and starting to give out the way watercolor brushes can do with age. Although I got watercolor brushes that are like over 20 years old. I got watercolor brushes that are still good from the first time I went to Pearl Paint in New York City, which closed down during COVID, which is pretty heartbreaking for New York comic supply buyers. But yeah, when a watercolor brush no longer can do what you need to do as a watercolor brush, then it devolves into an acrylic or an ink brush or and anything. It depends how it broke down, right? I'm gonna jump to 3. Trying to create some sort of volume in this ground here. Chat. Here we go. Thanks so much, Jim. Trading cards. Yeah, for a while I did sketch cards. I had a bunch of friends who were doing sketch cards, and the challenge of drawing that small at the time really appealed to me. So I did sketch cards for a bit, but it was right at the point when the companies realized that artists were using them as subsidiary incomes, and there were some artists, I believe, some still do, that essentially made doing sketch cards their primary career. And they started doing really weird things around. Well, you have to do all these drawings on your artist proof. You only get a handful of artist proofs, and all your drawings have to be turned in by such and such a date. And I was like, screw that. That's too many rules for something that's like already hard to do and do well. I mean, there's some people who do amazing, amazing sketch cards, and I did okay ones. But to my mind, there was another case of like businessmen wrecking things soon as artists got into it and realized, oh, this is something I can use. Here comes the vertical stripes again. Stripes, lines. I'm gonna make them a little. And we go over top of the one for the excuse me. I went silent there as I felt that cough coming on for a while. All right, all we have left, the big panel. All right, this is fun. Oh, I got some more flats in. Here we go. Simply Simmons' brushes. I'm not sure. Is that like a store brand? That might be a U.S. brand or a U.K. brand. I'm not sure where you're located. Yeah, in companies, it's the search for the bottom line has destroyed so much art in this world. Um, I mean, just look at it's driven the music industry to be largely accepting of AI. I mean, it's terrible. Yeah, I every once in a while I'm fiddling around in my studio and I find a bunch of blanks I was supposed to have turned in forever ago, and I'm kind of like, well, I guess that didn't happen. I could probably turn around and sell them now. Also, since like no one's checking on, it, I could do like really, I could like draw a naked Wolverine or something and really get people excited. Get a cease and desist order and be like, what? They're all gone, buddy. Oh, okay. Oh, the Robert Simmons line of brushes. Okay, and now I got two and two together. All right, cool. Yeah, I found sketch cards took color terribly. For a while, I had my pre-airbrush days. I was using Copics. I was using their compressed air thing to make the color effectively an airbrush, and I got these weird pigmentation dots all over the cards. Like the ink would come on such a light coating, it would like it was such cheap cardboard that some of it would bead up, I guess, like bead as in like BEAD, um, and that was interesting. This leg should be longer, so I'm gonna bend it here more. There's leave the ankle there, but I'm gonna put there we go. Everything's gonna be crusted with mud as he slides off of this. And he's still got that stick sticking out of his cast, and he's going to have to fix for too long. Yeah, that's pretty much on scale. There you go. Yeah, I don't think I've seen a Robert Simmons line of brushes in Toronto at all. What happened up here where he's crawling away from, that's where he was buried. He wasn't buried on a battlefield. He was born on one, but no. So assume that he's escaping. I don't want to spoil too much, but assume he's escaping from a graveyard of some sort. I'm gonna make that leg longer too. My initial drawing didn't do it justice. Yeah, I find that store brand brushes aren't as bad as we were always told they were, at least in my experience. Store brand when it first came to Ontario was Graphics, which is an art supply store downtown Toronto on Queen Street. I cannot remember the cheap brand. These sell two levels of quality in the Sheridan bookstore, art supply store. They had the really cheap ones, and then they had some higher quality ones. And I bought a couple of both, but long gone to all of them. I don't think they ever carried Winsor Newton. Might have to ask a Sheridan alumni if they did, and I'm just forgetting it. Straightening his leg out here. There we go. The foot's a little off. But there's going to be so much mud and everything here and rain, so I can let that slide a little bit. Oh my God. Permanent discount for art supplies. It would almost be worth it sometimes. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. They treat you too badly. Unless you got really good management. My experience of art supply stores is they treat the employees pretty disposably. All right. So we have two trees here. Oh, I got to lower the camera here, don't I? I've been inking away. Maybe we should take this page up here. Yeah, let me tape the page up here, because like right here at the bottom of the drawing table is not the best spot to have anything set. How are we doing time-wise, David? All right, we're only a half hour in, so I got at least a half hour to ink more of this big panel here. So in this panel here, we have this tree in the foreground, this tree in the foreground, and this is where we actually get to do line weight, describing coming closer to the the viewer. So I'm going to make this the light source, the area where Conan's coming from, even though it's nighttime. And everything, but it allows me to go to the backs of these trees and make them darker, making them the shadow side. And then everything else can have a different sort of light. So I'm laying down like super dark edge indications. There's going to be some rim light and stuff, but this forces my hand in terms of like volume and stuff. That's another reason why I like these like stupidly thick Posca paint markers. So doing a brush, I'd probably want to finesse it somehow. This forces me to do a raw, chunky line. Branch right through there. There's dry brush in there too if I want it, but I might get obfuscated with lines. So I have two trees in the far foreground. Get in with the 3. Give myself some. Well, I have to let this dry a bit, so let me go under here a bit. So this is the mud that kind of pushed down in front of him as he slid down into this pit. And just scribbling in the masses and the shapes. It creates some of the visual noise I've talked about before. And I know there's like precise ways you can like render mud. There's comic book language mud I've seen drawn before. And I'm not particularly interested in that. I said it before in interviews, I feel that where I've gone with my comics is not literally, but I feel there's a part of me that wants to make it so it's almost like war reportage drawing from different historical eras, where it's like if I'm drawing something, hopefully there's almost a feeling that it's in front of me and I'm quickly trying to sketch it down. That doesn't always work. Sometimes just to get a good drawing, you have to sit down. You have to do like old school type approaches to the media and everything. But yeah, I like to create textures and volumetric shapes using the line as a scribbling tool in many ways. So he's coming in here, and this is coming in here. There's going to be the ripples coming across here. Grabbing one of brush pens. Yeah, I think that works. Okay, well that's good. That's good. I remember one time I walked in to one art supply locally, and the employee answered something wrong, and I didn't want to do it in front of the customer. I said, "Well, I heard that maybe this product works good," and they looked at me and went, "Yeah, you're right," type of look. But they said, we just got our second pay cut in a year. If you wanted to keep your job, you had to actually take a pay cut, which is not a good sign for any store, let alone a retail art supply store. And he says he was at the point of not caring anymore, which is not a good place to be in any job. So there's Conan at the bottom, this mud pile. It would be like some sort of tree with the roots kind of partially exposed, digging into the mud here. Figure that look cool. A little bit like an octopus of wood. Plus, with these organic shapes here, I get to essentially point at Conan with the graphical elements that I'm introducing from the roots. Yeah, I get that. Leaving Walmart behind. Although Walmart did used to surprise me. Every once in a while I'd be at a Walmart and I'd look at their art supplies and went, oh my God, they're carrying that. Not that I can remember what that is in any sort of specifics, but it was like I was always surprised when Walmart carried an actual good art material. I mean, a lot of times they have like the bargain basement, like canvases and the cheapest possible paints of any maker. But every once in a while, they would actually have something kind of like good, and I'll be going, "Oh my gosh, someone at Walmart knew what they were doing." This panel, actually, there's going to be a lot of rain lines. See this kind of ridge I've drawn here? So there's an entire copse of trees that Conan's going to hide out in here for this comic, and since it's right near this graveyard, no one goes there because it's a graveyard. Um, so all the rain you're going to see is going to be up here, and there's going to be some darker shadows. They're going to have some like reflection of I'll do that in white paint, mostly of rain, kind of like sliding down into this little pool here. There's going to be some random raindrops that would come through the canopy the way they would in a copse of trees like this. They're not waterproof, those canopies of trees, but there's usually gaps between them at the top. So there would be rain coming down, and I'm going to be doing some of it, but it's going to be mostly appearing as white paint over top of these darker shapes of the trees, and less frenzied than it was like in these panels where it's coming down like a thunderstorm. This would be like it's hitting the trees, it's running down the trees, it's running off the leaves. It's hitting all sorts of different leaves and working its way down that way. So there's going to be some shelter in this copse of trees. Microforest. Just getting a whole bunch of notifications here. Yeah, Prismacolor pencils get everywhere, man. I think I'm a Derwent guy now, but I still have Prismacolor pencils from. I think one of the boxes I have is still one of the ones I got when I went to art school. I just ended up refilling them a bunch of times. And they're pretty damn good. Again, I think Derwent's just better, but Derwent is like just insane high quality colored pencil. Oh, I gotta share something with you guys. So some of you may know her work, some of you may not, but one of my favorite artists is a French artist named Claire Wendeling. And her and a bunch of artists have formed up a group called Cursive, and they're selling prints. And I just couldn't wait. I had to buy this beautiful little drawing. It was like 35 euros. So I think it's like $70, but it's on like incredibly high quality. I shouldn't even be touching with my art hands right now. It was like one of her beautiful. Look at that face there. I can get that in focus. So beautifully drawn. Look at those legs and the shoes and everything. So good, so good. Not sure what this is. It looks cool. It looks like she's on some sort of fur with some rings suspended underneath. So it might be like on a chair or something. But I just like the bells on the bottom of her top. Not sure where those bells are coming from. It's just so weird and beautiful and delicately drawn. I love it. So I had to buy it. I believe there's still some available on the Cursive site. They also have this great big. I'm running out of wall space for art, so I have to buy smaller pieces now. There's this great wider piece. I think it's like double wide. It's a Red Panda War Party, and it's just amazing. I love it. So yeah, the site's called Cursive. I don't remember the web URL offhand, but that's all I remember. I wanted to share that with you guys. I figured you guys would get a kick out of that. Polychromos is really good. Polychromos is really good. Yeah, there's a lot of Frazetta and Claire's work. Whether or not it's intentional or not, it just that level of organics there is just astounding. Do. That's still the 3 here. Some lighter trees on the outside edges. I'm just going to do like layers of hatching getting darker as they go down into the corner here. I'm going to pull some white paint down along this front foredge to give it like that wider rim light. And I'm going to let this, if this is the nadir of the dark point in the background, so it's going to exist over here too. It's going to start getting lighter over here. Let the roots still be dark. Coming out through there. There we go. Okay, I've sorted this. There will be a lot of vertical hatching in here anyway, just because that's my work is like built on vertical hatching. We're just hatching of all sorts. But it got me here. So I shouldn't complain, even though it's like, at some point I'm gonna have carpal tunnel at the wazoo. That'll not be fun. Yeah, I'm like perpetually squinting at my work, trying to figure out where the best way to let these hatch lines run to indicate shape and form and stuff. Sometimes you got a cross hatch. Sometimes you just got to let that vertical hatch lean into it in multiple levels. So, yeah. There we go. The solid brush strokes help. Yeah, Claire, Mike Mignola turned me on to Claire when she was doing a book called The Lights of Amalou, which got reprinted in English by Fantagraphics a few years ago, like within the last 10 years. Beautiful, beautiful book. And it's her first work, as far as I know, and it's just astounding. And it pisses me off that when someone comes out that good, because I sucked when I started. But it's always wonderful, and a little jealousy. It creates a little bit of envy when they come out of like just nowhere. Like as if the Gebelin School of Art in France is nowhere. But yeah, it's like I just love finding new good fantasy artists. Finding them like when they're too derivative, not as big a thrill, if that makes sense. Like if it's like finding someone who draws exactly like Frazetta now is less impressive than say, I don't know, 20 years ago when it's like you didn't have digital to like fix shit and zoom in on a super high quality photographs, and you didn't really there's a whole bunch of things about learning art now that are easier now than when I was a student. I mean, like the Loomis books are in print. Like when I was in art school, people would talk about the Loomis books, but no one had them. I mean, my first Loomis book was a set of photocopies that another student let me have of his grandfather's book. I mean, that's the world I grew up in. And now Loomis has been in print for the better part of 15 years from Titan, which is good. I'm not all going to complain about that. But I mean, how to get it a lot easier than me, man. I want to crosshatch under this here, create a bit of a step. The other thing, what else? The Gottfried Bamas books are actually in English. When I first heard about them, they're almost like mythological books, like the German anatomy books. You'd see them and you kind of go, "Oh my God, what is that?" Have I ever? Oh, her name is Claire Wendling. Yes, Claire Wendling, Wendling. She also has some great sketchbooks out there. If you're a sketchbook collector, she's got some beautiful, beautiful sketchbooks. I think like 5 or 6. I have them all. But now what I'm really worried about here is have I ever talked about Gottfried Bamas with you guys? Let's see if my Gottfried's on hand. Yeah, there it is. In fact, I might grab the German of the English. But because I was married to a Dutch woman, and so Europe was quite accessible. As I reach across everything. This is the book. This is my English edition. I must have put it somewhere up front. So there's this book. This book is a wonder. I believe in Europe they refer to it as the book, the drawing book, and it's thick. Look at how thick that is, right? That's what, an inch and 3 inches on this side? Yeah. It is almost 4 centimeters, so that makes it about inch and a half, because 2.5 centimeters is an inch, I believe. Anyway, so this one's entirely in German, but I got it anyway because it was just astounding. Let me see if I can find the first chart. It actually starts with like really early anatomical stuff. And I have this in English, by the way. It has come out in English. So if you look for Gottfried Bammes, Bammes, you can find the English edition of this book. But I mean, he goes right into the mechanisms of the knee, all the bones. He has a very constructive approach to drawing. I gotta put this up here. There we go. That's good. Here's his breaking down the shape of the pelvis. All these different angles, ultra simplified, so you can actually throw it in there, to still simplified but anatomically accurate pelvic construction there. Right, does the same. Here's the drawing of the pelvis. Here he is doing it with skull. And this is the preliminary stuff in the book, right? We're seeing drawings that I've never seen in any other anatomy book. And they're in the first like 100 pages of this book. See if I can get some of the things that really blew me away. So I was already on board buying this book, flipping through this much. The section on proportions, showing the figure in different poses, showing how all the limbs connect, different things. Like if you squat down, it's everything, right? These wonderful color charts. I think he did them with cut paper. Photographs, so you know, I have to be careful about demonetization. More detailed breakdowns of all the reference points. Look at that, male and female. Oh, more photos. Here's the age height charts. Now, of course, it's Western, but see if I can find. Oh, kids definitely can't show those. Sculptures. Yeah, here's a walk cycle. Here's a walk cycle showing how the pelvis moves in relationship to the rest of the body. It's in an art book. Yes, photographs of athletes. Here's like a running cycle. I want to just find some of the really cool anatomy pages. Here we go. So let's just look. I should have just turned to this. It's a femur. He's drawing from every single femur and tibia and fibia. He's drawing from different angles. So you actually really get a sense. These are really strong structural drawings of the bones. Then he's showing the actual mechanics and mechanism, like how everything rolls against each other with the knee. Again, drawing it and showing the actual rotation of the knee moving in space. What happens with the patella as it comes over the gap. More simple line drawings. More drawings still showing how the tendons are attached to the knee. I mean, I've learned so much from this book. Here's the actual drawing. Here's with his hatching showing the contours, the contour surface of the knee from different angles that you almost never see in anatomy books. I mean, I could go on and on. There's a section on aging. I'm just trying to be careful. Like there's facial features, muscular breakdown of the skull, the bone structures. I love this drawing. I actually designed a monster loosely based on that, just with missing the bottom jaw. It was a vampire, of course. And it was a cyborg vampire. Yay. Curvature of the spine. Look at that. Oh my God. Drawing the ridges of the spine as opposed to drawing every single separate vertebrae. You could, if you get that ridge right, then you could just carve the vertebrae out of it if you wanted to draw an ambulatory skeleton. One of the first art books where the guy made a point of showing like your ribs are connected back here. So most of your spine is actually inside your torso. And a lot of people, I have usually blow my students' mind back when I was teaching. that was happening. Arms. Oh my God. So yeah. So this is the German one, but there is an English one. Gottfried Bamas, Der Gestalter Menschen. My German's terrible. But I think it's just like a full anatomy. There's actually now a couple of his books in English. Now that this one's broken the barrier, as it were. He's got a couple books on drawing animals. Oh, actually, is that my English? I got so much stuff in my studio right now. Leading up to. No, that's the Senezi book. But no, it's an amazing book. You're serious about drawing and getting better at drawing human figure. That is a book I'd really recommend getting. Boris Mobius, Sorayama, Corbin, yeah. What I might do is I might try and make a post about it on social media or something, and like make it so everyone can see it. And I'll just say I talked about it on stream. That way there'll be a link. Hopefully I won't forget. Back on this. Because this is why I'm here. How are we doing time-wise? Just after 8. All right. Yeah, you guys know how I like to try and keep it to like an hour. So what I'll do is, I think I'll finish this little corner right here, and then I'll call it a night. And then start figuring out what the hell I'm going to do for the Christmas Eve art stream. That seems like a worthwhile plan to me. Normally I'm twisting my paper every which direction so I don't have to like draw from the reverse angle with my hand, but it's taped down and I don't want to move it. Yeah, there's like this part here, this little ridge coming down. There's going to be some water running down here. guess I could do that. Let me get that second bump. I'll imply that there's like still some vegetation despite the flooding rainwater that generally pounds everything flat. There's still some sort of vegetation clinging to the earth here. So I'm obviously going a little over as I start rendering another interesting area. I like the way the camera, just after I move my hand out, the camera has to like double check the focus. When it first was happening, I was so freaked out that I got a defective camera, but apparently that's just one of its features. Maybe I'll have some, just have it disappear here. The reveal of water running off. Might do some rubber stamping in here. I'm not entirely sure where. Probably in the upper panel. This page will be done. I might wave it around next week during the Christmas Eve stream. Now I'm talking about as if it's a done deal. I think it might end up being a done deal. I just don't want to break my streak. I've been doing these weekly since I started, and I feel to be getting some sort of like traction. Not that I think I'm going to get many followers over the holidays, but I feel that, till I absolutely have to, either I'm sick or I'm traveling or work's doing something, I feel I have to just keep doing these streams until I can, and then the streak will be broken. But then I'll try and beat it, the subsequent streak, which never happens. I don't know if you know that once you break a streak, it becomes stupidly easy to find other reasons not to. It's once the streak's broken, then it's like the bandage is off, man. It's like then you can cancel because it seems reasonable. I have to cancel as I ramble. Um, wow, so this panel's almost all done. How are we doing? 11. Okay, I'll give it a little bit more. Don't think I'll finish this panel, but I'll just. I think maybe I'll just finish this background piece over here after I do this part of ground, and then I'll call it because it's going to be finicky doing the rain over here and not have it merge with these panels too much. So I got to be careful about that. Just really get like that dark, massive hair there. Put a coarse shadow in there. So what else? Oh, yeah, I'm also, I think I mentioned it before, I'm illustrating one of the upcoming Conan books. Doing 6 black and white illustrations for this book, and I finally, um, they sent me a Word doc, which for a short story or a series of short stories, it's really easy to illustrate from a Word doc. But a novel, like this, hundreds of pages of novel, like it's like a 500-page novel. I just found it too hard to keep track of like where all the info is. And some of the character descriptions are like pages ahead of the actual scene I'm illustrating. So I just went ahead and went to Staples and I printed the whole damn thing out. Dropped $80 on printing out a book. And so I just finished I didn't finish reading it in Word doc on my computer because I hate reading on that on my desktop. But I finished reading it. So I reread about 2/3 of it now because it's in paper form. And so that's how far I got on the e-document. But I've read the whole thing. It's a fun Conan book. It's a fun. Um, there weren't a lot of Conan pastiches back in the day that got me going. I thought Karl Edward Wagner's, I think it's called Road of Kings, was pretty damn good. I'm a bit of a sucker for Wagner anyway because I'm a huge fan of Kane. His creation. But let me just get this up here. But this is a fun. It's got like tons of like just cool shit for me to draw. I'm only doing like 2 half-page illustrations, like spot illustrations that won't have Conan in it. But every other illustration in this book is a banger. I have a feeling that there's going to be some Conan fans that are like, "Ooh, I want that piece." Trying to think. Started doing the thumbnails for them so I can submit the layouts for approval this week. But there's, I think Conan's in almost all of them. There's a couple where he's not really active, which is unfortunate. I'll let this go in here. I'm gonna have like a fallen tree here coming at an angle. So I can go a little heavier here. Yeah, so those illustrations are going to be fun. Those probably won't be streamed at all. I'm going to be done those by end of the first week of January, if not sooner. And well, what I'll probably do is I'll probably go up on my Patreon as soon as they're done. So if you're not following my Patreon, it's only $1 a month. If you're not following my Patreon and you're so inclined to see, the art I do uncensored when it is censored in social media or whatnot, again, just $1. A few of the people hanging out here are Patreon supporters, and I appreciate them. And yeah, so just $1 a month, man. $1 a month to get to see all my stuff. So that's my selling for tonight. And you notice how I did it when I went into overtime. I wasn't had I ended this when I thought I was going to end this. I wouldn't have pitched my Patreon, which is only $1 a month. It's I'm now feeling like it's a silly joke pitching my Patreon, but yeah, it's Richard_Pace on Patreon, and is literally the best $12 you'll spend every year. Yeah, that feels good. All right, guys. This piece is more or less done. I got to do the vertical hatching for the rain back here above the ridge line of this hole. Then there's going to be some vertical lines in the foreground, but mostly those will be in white paint. I might actually hit this with some fixative first, so the white paint won't absorb into the ink. And then this page is done. So yeah, so 3 weeks just to draw this page on stream. Luckily, the other pages go faster. So you guys have. Oh yeah, Peak actually taught one of my art teachers. I don't think Patreon takes PayPal. If they do, well, I know they pay out to PayPal, so there's probably a way for them to take PayPal payments. That seems to be something that would make sense to me. Let me know if they don't, because that would be a good thing to know. Yeah, this tree needs more work. Yeah, got to find some of the sides of the bark to get it across it. It's like. Sorry, I just realized I want a branch going in a certain direction there, so I'm gonna have to do that with white paint too. And there's like some highlights on the trees that are in the foregrounds and everything there. But yeah, all right. All right, you guys have a good night. You have a good week. Hopefully, I'll see you all, as many of you guys who don't have better things to do, next Sunday night for Christmas Eve. No idea what I'll be drawing. I'll do something seasonably appropriate. Who knows? I might draw a winter witch. But that's it. You guys have a great night and see you in 7 days.